well, here is the sawhorse I made. Sawhorse bench. I really need it because I'm going to be buying a couple sheets of sheet metal pretty quick. I need a flat surface and safe. Well, it's actually not. I got to screw the board because it's kind of warped a little bit to the sawhorses, but it's not a big deal. Yeah, so I made them, and I added these pieces of plywood on the sides for a reason, and you're going to see. So if you're cutting or doing some kind of grinding work, you need a place to put the grinders. And so I'm just demonstrating this here. It's a really good place to put the grinder because quite often a lot of guys have 2 or 3 grinders, and one is designed for whichever, right? As long as you unplug them all the time. But you put them on here, and then just pick it up and you grind, or you just do whatever. Instead of which I have been doing in the past, just take my grinder, change the blade, put a cutting blade, grinder blade, sanding blade, just a hassle, right? You'd rather have like 3 or 4 grinders and just pick them up as you need them when you work on a project. So this is going to serve for many purposes, and a new bench for working in here. Especially working on big stuff, which it will be pretty quick here. So, anyways, I had to deck it out a little bit. Need a place to put, put stuff. It's kind of flimsy, but it is what it is. It's refurbished parts and pieces from the fluorescents. So put whatever in there, tape measure or plier or whatever there. And here I put these screws here because, like on that metal bench there, you can basically put anything you want. I usually like to lean when I'm doing something, I like to put the put the stinger or the clamp on the frame here, right? So I thought I'd put some screws here, that way I can hang up a hammer or hang up whatever I want, piece of metal or washers or whatever I'm doing, right? Washer or something, get some kind of custom, stick it on there, and you always get it if you need it, right? So multi-purpose thing. I thought I would deck that out. I actually had to modify my chair too, but yeah, kind of different. It's not a permanent thing, but yeah. So you might see this hole here. Well, this plywood here was originally from my trailer. Like I said, the hole there. You might be wondering why the hole is there anyway. Well, when I had the sides on the trailer, I needed a way to access the cinches, because I tied on a skid steer on there, my skid steer, and of course with the sides, if the sides are all like this, you can't access the cinch. So I had the holes that's on all 4 corners. So I could put the chain through and then cinch it down and so forth, and it served its purpose for that. So I went on a project one time this past year and needed my dump truck wasn't ready, so I had to build sides to haul away brush and such on my trailer. So I bought plywood. Well, now I got my dump truck, I don't need to having sides on my dump trailer. So anyways, instead of plywood going to crap, I decided to use it for stuff, and I've used it for my grizzly, and I'm using it for another piece here, right? So this is kind of a happy mistake, sort of, and it's kind of nice to have, because sometimes you're taking something apart and nuts and bolts go in here, right? Or a screwdriver or whatever you're working on, right? Go in here, the parts and pieces. And actually, if this turns out okay, I might put another one on this side, drill it out, and put another one on that side, because there's a piece of plywood under here anyway. So, but yeah, so it's kind of a happy mistake, sort of, but it's going to work out pretty good, because of course, you have something on you want to try to allocate as much space as you can, but you always put a piece of plywood in here to fit in here to take up the space if it really needs it. It's kind of a nice thing to have, like a little compartment to put stuff. Something falls in here. Like I'm saying, if you're assembling something, nuts and bolts or washers and stuff, you put it in front of you here or down below in these little trays or in this little thing here, which would be handy. So also be handy for catching sparks and such in here and causing a problem. So like the other thing is with the welding bench. The welding bench there, a guy can clamp whatever you want to, right? To little bars there. And I've been doing it for years and years. I'm still going to use it for little things, but this is gonna be my main project table now because it's higher and it's off the floor a bit better, and I can put something on here and then have more space to work on stuff. As opposed to that, I can work it from that angle, whichever angle I want, right? It's kind of nice that way. So I basically had built it for cutting metal on, right? But it's nice to have a little bit of a working space, especially working on buckets and such, where you're building something, but patterns and all sorts of stuff. You have more working space. So that, notice you have the little bars going across there. So what I thought is I can do the same thing with this here, but I have to drill holes. Right, drill holes in here, a couple holes some places, right? Maybe 4 holes on the table, and you get those bar clamps, right? People using construction and such, even like regular clamps, and you have one on each corner or whatever, right? If you're cutting something that needs to be clamped in a certain way, I mean, of course, now here, of course, this can't be adjusted anymore, but because I have pieces under here that hold this plywood together. It was too cheap to go buy a piece of plywood and just use what I had, of course. If you didn't notice already, I'm kind of cheap. So, but anyways, you can clamp it here, the metal, or this through here, or whatever, right, on the edges and such. But sometimes you come across a situation where you need to clamp something in the middle of the table for whatever reason. Sometimes you have to, and that's where that little table came in handy, because of all the slots in there. Like most welding tables, you have ways you can basically have ways where you can clamp things down, and that suited the need there for a long time. I'm still going to use it, so that's not going anywhere. I'm going to use it for other projects when I need it. It's also nice to have the table where I can put up against here, put some 2x4s on there, raise it up the same height, and do what I want to do, right? So it serves many purposes to have an extra. Oops, put my fingers on there. Have a bench like this. I should have, many years ago, I should have did this thing here, the sawhorses, but sometimes it's a pain in the ass. But this thing is it's collapsible, right? Just take up the top, and sawhorses are put off to the side, and the garage is back to usage again. But anyways, we got to build stuff for Bronco, sheet metal parts, and we need a way to cut it safe and sound and level and such, and a good place for welding stuff. And that there is getting a bit small and rickety, but this is a little better for more production work, sort of. So, but yeah, and if a guy gets really, really fussy, you can put a little light on there or something to get a little more light to do different projects and such. But that's getting kind of carried away. But we have lots of light now. So, but yeah. So, anyways, kind of decking it out a little bit, as I say. But yeah, it's a really good investment. Really good investment to buy these sawhorse brackets. I might try to look for another set. They're a little more heavy duty. You see right here, it lacks a piece in here, right? Which you should have a piece in there to make this a little more heavy duty. But it is what it is. So, but I might look for another set that's a little bit better quality. So anyway, I'm happy with that. So anyways, I just want to show you guys my decked out sawhorse table. So, but yeah, it's going to come in real handy. It's real handy for doing lots of projects, and give myself a little more space. Of course, someday, this is a shout out to George at Shade Tree Fix It Man. I watch him quite a bit. He's kind of a kind of homesteader kind of guy. He's retired, and his wife lives out in somewhere in States or somewhere, and he does all kind of stuff. And he has this lift. I think he actually bought it with YouTube revenue. He bought this lift that from the floor, and it lifts it up, to hydraulics. So it's kind of cool. I've seen that at Princess Auto here too. It's kind of expensive. Well, not that expensive, but $600 or $700, right? So that was kind of one of my ideas too, and it makes you a really nice table. But then it gets in the way. This here can be taken apart and moved away and brought something else in. So that's kind of nice thing about having a collapsible kind of table, which you can just pick up and move. So, but maybe someday I'll have a bigger shop someday, and we can have all the things we want. But until then, we make do with making things as easy as possible. But yeah, this is a definitely well needed thing to have. So